Imagine building your entire life, brick by brick, with someone you trust completely, only to discover it was all founded on a 20-year lie. What if the person sleeping next to you, the one you swore eternal vows to, was living a secret life you never even suspected? This isn't just about infidelity. It's about the seismic shock when your perfect reality shatters into 1,000 pieces. For 2 decades, my marriage was a masterpiece of deception, a carefully constructed illusion that fooled everyone, including me. But beneath the surface of our perfect life lay a silent epidemic of betrayal, unfolding right under my nose. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the devastating truth, revealing how one secret can unravel an entire lifetime built on a lie. How do you rebuild when the foundation of your perfect 20-year marriage collapses, revealing a double life you never saw coming? This isn't just a story of cheating. It's a raw, agonizing journey through profound betrayal and the impossible choice of confronting a meticulously crafted lie. Come with me as I navigate the aftermath of a hidden life that destroyed everything I thought I knew. It all began on a sunny spring afternoon in 2005 in a small cafe in Madrid. I was a 25-year-old recent journalism graduate, full of dreams and ambition. He, Carlos, was a charismatic 28-year-old engineer with a smile that lit up the room and a way of speaking that made the world feel full of possibilities. We met by chance. I spilled my coffee on his newspaper, and instead of getting upset, he laughed and bought me another. It was the start of a fairy tale romance. Less than a year later, we were married in an intimate ceremony surrounded by friends and family, vowing eternal love under an endless blue sky. The first years were idyllic. We moved into a cozy apartment in the city center, where I started working at a local newspaper, and he quickly climbed the ranks at his tech company. We had our first daughter, Elena, in 2007, a bright-eyed little girl who filled our home with laughter and adorable chaos. Carlos was the perfect father. He woke up early to make her breakfast, took her to the park on weekends, and told her made-up bedtime stories. I admired his dedication. He always seemed to have time for everything. For us, for work, even for those business trips that, looking back, should have raised red flags. But back then, I saw nothing wrong. Our life was a perfect mosaic. Beach vacations on the Costa Brava, romantic candlelit dinners, and an intimacy that, while not as passionate as in the beginning, felt comfortable and safe. In 2010, our second child, Mateo, arrived, a mischievous boy who inherited his father's endless energy. The family grew, and with it, our routine became solid. I became an editor at work, juggling deadlines with diapers and school meetings. Carlos, meanwhile, began traveling more. Conferences in Barcelona, meetings in Valencia, even occasional international trips to Germany or France for his company. He always came back with gifts, a toy for the kids, a necklace for me, and funny stories we shared over dinner. The years passed like pages in a well-written book. We celebrated anniversaries with romantic getaways. Our 10th, in 2015, was a Mediterranean cruise where we renewed our vows on the ship's deck with the sunset as witness. Our friends envied us. "You're the perfect couple," they said. "How do you keep everything so balanced?" I smiled and answered, "It's all about trust and communication." What irony! Trust was the glue holding our facade together, but underneath, something was rotting. The first subtle hint came in 2012, though I didn't recognize it at the time. Carlos became more protective of his phone. He used to leave it on the kitchen table, but suddenly he took it everywhere, even to the bathroom. One night while he slept, a notification lit up the screen. I glanced over and saw a message from an unknown number. "Can't wait to see you again." My heart skipped, but when I asked him the next day, he laughed it off and said it was a mistake, spam from a dating app he didn't even use. "It's just advertising," he insisted, and foolishly, I believed him. Why wouldn't I? Our life was perfect. There was no reason to doubt. The years went by, and the clues piled up like dust in a forgotten attic. In 2016, I found a hotel receipt in his briefcase from a city he supposedly hadn't visited. "Company error," he explained. In 2018, a friend mentioned seeing him at a bar with an unknown woman, but he swore it was a work colleague and that my friend was mistaken. Every time, his explanations were logical, detailed, and I accepted them because questioning them would mean breaking the balance I loved so much. The children grew. Elena entered adolescence with her school dramas and first crushes. Mateo became obsessed with soccer, and Carlos took him to every match. Our home was a refuge of normalcy in a chaotic world. But in 2020, the pandemic changed everything. With the lockdown, Carlos worked from home, and for the first time in years, I saw him all day. At first, it was wonderful. We cooked together, played board games with the kids, and rediscovered the intimacy we'd lost. However, I noticed he spent hours in his office with the door closed, on work calls that lasted late into the night. One evening I walked in without knocking and caught him quickly closing a browser window. "Just an email," he said, but his face was pale. I began to feel an unease I could no longer ignore. The real discovery began in 2023, in the most mundane way possible. I was cleaning the garage and found an old box of memories, wedding photos, love letters, and at the bottom, an old phone Carlos had lost years earlier. I turned it on out of curiosity, and what I found took my breath away. Messages, hundreds of them, from different women, spanning from 2006 to 2019. It wasn't one affair, it was dozens. Names like Laura, Sophia, Anna. Dates that matched his business trips. Intimate photos, promises of future meetings, even plans for getaways he disguised as work. I sat on the garage floor, shaking, as I read. A woman in Barcelona he saw every 3 months for 5 years. Another in Valencia, a parallel relationship that lasted a decade, with details about how he helped her financially. And the worst, one in our own city, a neighbor we knew by sight, with messages revealing encounters in local hotels while I was at work or with the kids. It wasn't just sex, it was emotions, confidences, an entire parallel life. In one message, he told one of them, "My marriage is just a front. With you I can be myself." A front? Our life, our children, everything was a lie. I spent days in shock, without confronting him. I became a detective in my own home. I checked our joint bank accounts. We had mutual access, but I'd never used it. I found suspicious transfers, payments to jewelers, hotels, even a rented apartment in another part of the city he never mentioned. I searched his computer and discovered deleted emails recovered from the trash, plans for a romantic trip with someone named Maria in 2021, right when he told me he was going to a convention. Each revelation was a punch to the stomach. How did I not see it? How could I have been so blind? When I finally confronted him one stormy night in 2023, after the kids were asleep, it was catastrophic. I showed him the phone, the messages, everything. At first he denied it, said they were fake, that someone had hacked him. But faced with overwhelming evidence, he broke down. He cried, begged for forgiveness, admitted everything. It started as a mistake, just once, but it became an addiction, he said. "I love you. I've always loved you. But I needed something more." Something more? 20 years of lies, of affairs that covered almost our entire marriage. It wasn't a slip, it was a systematic double life with elaborate lies, perfect alibis, and complete disregard for the trust one had given him. The following months were hell. We slept in separate rooms, and every conversation was a battle. Elena, now 16, noticed the tension and started asking questions. Mateo, 13, became withdrawn, blaming himself. I told my parents and close friends, and the support was mixed. Some urged me to divorce, others suggested couples therapy. We went to a therapist, but Carlos downplayed everything. It was only physical, he said, though the messages proved otherwise. There were promises of love, future plans with others. One of them even had a child who might have been his. I tracked her social media and requested a paternity test. It came back negative, but the damage was already done. The betrayal wasn't just romantic. It was financial, emotional, familial. I discovered he had used joint account money for gifts and trips with them. Our perfect life crumbled. We sold the house because I couldn't bear the memories, and we moved into a smaller apartment. The children suffered. Elena fell into depression and needed therapy. Mateo started having problems at school. I lost my job because I couldn't concentrate, and I spiraled into anxiety, insomnia, and self-doubt. How did I miss it? Was I really that naive? Every night, I relived moments. Our vacations, when he was probably texting others. Our nights together, when his mind was somewhere else. Divorce became inevitable. In 2024, after a year of separation, we signed the papers. Carlos moved in with one of his lovers, the one from Valencia, revealing that his addiction had never ended. I lost friends who took his side, believing his manipulated version of events. But I also gained strength. I started an anonymous blog about betrayal and recovery, connecting with others in similar situations. Elena and Mateo, though wounded, began to heal. We spent time together, rebuilding our family without him. Today, in 2026, I look back and see not only pain, but lessons. Blind trust can be a double-edged sword. I learned to listen to my intuition, to value myself more. My life isn't perfect, but it's real. And in that reality, I find peace. If you're reading this and feel that subtle unease, don't ignore it. Sometimes the truth hurts, but the lie destroys. How do I move forward? Day by day, brick by brick. But this time, on solid foundations I build myself.